2007 Honda CR-V starter replacement. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'm going to walk you through that process. So we're going to get started by removing the battery cable, the air box, the air duct snorkel here, and the top engine cover. I'm going to go ahead and remove the battery itself too, just for a little extra room. And to do that, you just remove the battery cables here, and then loosen the 10mm bolts on the J hooks here, and then you can lift the whole battery out. Okay, now we're going to get the air box out. So you're going to unplug your mass airflow sensor by just squeezing the tab and pulling off, and make sure not to pull from the wires, pull from the plastic plug, and then use a pair of needle nose or a flat blade screwdriver and pop the little green wire loom holder off. And then after that, you can pop the clips on the actual air filter itself. 5 of those clips. Now the box is maneuverable. So now we can go ahead and remove, or go ahead and loosen the 10mm bolt on the clamp. And then whatever's easiest for you, but there's a couple of these vent lines go to the air cleaner. We need to remove those too. So you can either remove it from here and here, and then we're going to take this whole assembly out. So I found it easier to actually take the hoses off here at the snorkel here and here. That was the easiest for me. I tried taking it off up here at the top, and they were kind of glued on, so I moved down here and I got them out pretty easily. Now I'm going to remove the 2 tins from the cover. So to get this starter out, we need to remove the this part of the intake manifold, the plenum part of it, the outer half. So the next step we're going to do after getting the cover off is remove the 12mm bolts, the 4 of them. There will be a couple bolts and a couple nuts. So we'll remove those on the throttle body, and we'll leave everything else hooked up to it. And then we'll take it off and kind of set it over here where the battery was, or try to maneuver it as far as we can out of the way. So after unbolting the throttle body, I just used a tie strap and kind of hooked it through one of the ears on the throttle body, and hooked it onto the hinge, and kind of just pulled it out of my way. And like I said, I left all electrical connectors and hoses connected to it. Next, I'm going to unplug the little map sensor here. I'm going to unplug the vacuum hose here. After unplugging the vacuum hose, I kind of just chucked it out of the way like this. Unplugged my sensor here, and then right here is a little bracket that holds the vacuum line, and it also has the holds the wire loom here. Go ahead and remove the 10mm bolt here. So take the bracket off like that, and then right here you want to take the little plastic wire loom, pop that out. So it should be like this and free, so the whole wire loom, you can pull it out of your way. Next we need to do is, on this intake manifold, there's a support bracket. It goes down to the engine block. We need to get the bolts out of that. And let's see if I can show it to you. So if you look here where the throttle body is, it's right underneath the throttle body. There's a black bracket that runs down. So that bracket, if you look at the throttle body here, and if you look right directly underneath it, you can kind of see it right here. My screwdriver's going down to it and about to touch it. So it's right there, and it's got a 12mm bolt at the bottom of that bracket. And you can reach it by sticking your hand with your ratchet around like this, and you can get it off. Or if it's too tight for you, or not enough room, you can lift the car up and you can get to it from underneath. So you'll take that bracket, the bolt out of the bracket right there, and then after you get that bracket unbolted, then you're going to remove the 12mm bolts here, 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 and here on the corner. So now that you got all the bolts off the intake there, and the lower bracket unbolted, just pull the whole manifold straight back towards you, towards the front of the car, and then you can work it out. And you may have to twist and pull and maneuver it to get it out, but it'll come out. And there's also going to be one more wire loom like this that you have to deal with. It's underneath by that, and it's actually on the mounting bracket right here. So it's attached to that bracket that went down to the engine block. So you have to take that little wire, it's kind of like one of these little things, you have to pop that off, and then you should be able to work it. So I was trying to get that wire loom I was telling you about off, and I decided it would be easier to do it from underneath. And if you look right here, this is the bracket that I was telling you about that supports the nose of it, and right above it is the wire loom. Here's the bracket going up to it, and then there's the wire loom, so you pop it off. So I decided it would be easier to do this from underneath, is to get this wire loom right here off. Or you could go ahead and take off the other 12mm bolt that goes vertical, straight up, and just leave the wire loom attached to the bracket that I took it off from above, but you can see it's actually easier to get to it from below. So if you look from the bottom of the car, and if you look through this little hole, you can see the bracket here, and you can see the wire loom, and you can get to it with a wobble socket. And it originally was up in there like that, so I unbolted it, and I just left the wire loom attached to it. Now that I got the bracket completely off the intake manifold, I'm gonna lower the car back down. So this manifold, once you get out all the brackets loose and the wire loom's all loose, it's a real tight fit to get it in and out. So I took it off, and what I did was take the nose where the throttle body mounted and twist it up towards you, and lower the back end of it down towards the bottom of the engine, and kind of, so you're basically rotating the intake manifold counterclockwise, and then you're maneuvering it over like this. At the same time, I use my cable here to pull the throttle body and everything out as far as I can. Maneuver the hose out of the upper radiator hose. You can flex it and pull it out of your way, and you just keep working it until it comes out like so. You rotate it counterclockwise and then work it where the nose comes up, and you kind of work it out like this. So as you can see, it's coming out, and I have to keep maneuvering around and pulling different things out of my way, and just keep working it slowly, and you just keep moving things out of your way as you go, and it comes out. It's a little tough, but it will come out. Okay, now that it's out, you can see the starter down here. So you're gonna have to go ahead and unplug the electrical connector, the igniter wire they call it, I guess. And then on the end of the nose of the starter, there's gonna be a little loom holder, and so take that out by squeezing it and pushing it out. Disconnect that, and then right here above right underneath the coolant pipe, is the main battery cable. You pop this little rubber ear rope, and take that 12mm bolt off. Once you get the electrical connectors all disconnected from the starter, you can see the bolt back there, and it has like a long stud and a ratchet, and you can from over here, and you can take it all off, and then take the 17 here, take that off, and then you can remove the starter. It'll just lift right out. You may get stuck in the housing here a little bit, so you have to kind of wiggle it to get it out once you get the bolt. The back one back here turned out to be a 14mm, and the front one's a 17. This is my setup. I just use a standard ratchet to get to the back one like that. And you have plenty of room. Now that your old starter is out, go ahead and match it up with your new one. Go ahead and put it back in and tighten the two bolts to hold it in. And then after you get those tightened up, then you can put your main positive cable back on, and then hook your wire loom here. Don't forget to plug in your knock sensor below. Okay, after getting the starter bolted up, make sure you tighten up all the bolts, the electrical connectors, including the knock sensor back here. Everything's in where it's supposed to go, because once you put this intake back on and you go to start it and something's not hooked back up or whatever, then you have to take this all back apart just to fix that. So double check whatever you touch down in this area. And I wanted to also show you guys this bracket here, how it's attached to the wire loom. This is the one that went on the bottom of the intake there. So you guys can get a better look at it. So now we're ready to put the intake manifold back in. So go ahead and change your gasket here and put a new one on. And then you're also going to need to order, when you do this, is a throttle body gasket. Now this may be easier to do with two people to help hold everything out of the way. But you're going to take your intake manifold like this and turn it on its end and get it to route through here. And then once you get it below everything that's here, you'll rotate it in back clockwise and then put it back over the studs that are there. And that's also going to be on towards the driver's side of the car. So you'll put it in, and then as you get it down below, you'll rotate it and then move it over and then put it on. Once you get the intake manifold back in there, go ahead and start the nuts and bolts on it and torque these down to 16 foot-pounds. And you'll start in the middle of the intake, so you'll tighten this one first, then this one, then this one, and then the one over here and one over here. All at 16 foot-pounds. Once you got the intake manifold all torqued down, you go ahead and lift your car back up and then reinstall this bracket here that went under the intake. So go ahead and kind of just route it up in there and start the bolt here on the corner and then start the bolt on top. And once you got them both started, then you can tighten them both down. Now that the intake's all bolted back up, the bracket's re-secured, you go ahead and start working from the lowest point up to the top. So by securing the wire looms and plugging in any of the sensors you may have unplugged. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this, plug this back in, put the wire loom connectors back in here. Go ahead and remount the bracket here and put the tin on. And after that, I'll reinstall the vacuum line and hose clamp. Now that that's secure, you can go ahead and put a new throttle body gasket and take your old one and use a little razor blade and scrape it off. Usually once you get it started, it just peels off. So I like to take the new throttle body gasket here and put it on over the studs and leave it on here first. And then we're gonna take your little, whatever you use to tie the throttle body back, go ahead and undo that and slip it back over and start the bolts. And you can tighten those down to 16 foot-pounds also. So after reinstalling your throttle body, you can go ahead and put your air cleaner assembly back on. The hose clamp, the two lines that came off, and don't forget to plug in your mass airflow sensor. And after you're getting your air cleaner assembly reinstalled, you can go ahead and put the top engine cover back on and tighten the two tins down. And then after that, we're going to install the battery and all the hold downs and stuff, and re-secure that and tighten the batteries up. Okay, after reinstalling your battery, that's the last step, and that completes the starter replacement on a 2007 Honda CR-V. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos and encourage you to subscribe, and I'd like to thank you again.